Welcome aboard, guys. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We've been talking back and forth for a while. So we have a list of topics. The first one is going to be the biggest one, obviously, which is, just GPU content. We recently had the 50 series go live, 5080, 5090. Obviously, that was a huge, not great launch, however you want to word it.
Probably one of the worst.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I figured I'll introduce the topics, pass it on to you guys, let y'all do, your ideas, and then wrap back around to me, and then we'll just go through there. So I guess, Danny, let's start with you, man. 5080, 5090 launch. What are your initial thoughts, reactions, all that stuff on it?
Honestly, it's been a mixed bag, right? Like, initially, I was pretty hyped for it. I already kind of knew like how the whole reaction was gonna go because so many I think this was probably one of the Nvidia's most leaked generations because we were hearing the specs like from a long time ago. I think like by the midpoint of 2024, like we already knew what the specs were. So I'm like looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is not gonna be like a big leap in terms of raster that people want. So it's gonna come down to pricing. And then what the new whole feature is going to be that NVIDIA rolls out, because they always have that new feature, right? Last gen was X2 frame gen, now it's just X4 frame gen, and then they updated the whole DLSS 4 model and everything. So I'm like, that's what's basically going to make or break the series. Yeah. So initially, when they announced it, I was like, pricing wise, it doesn't seem so bad. But then now you look at the state of the market, and it's just like, like you're not getting it for those prices, man.
Right. Yeah.
So it kind of it's a big buzzkill, and honestly, I think just these past few weeks or so, my interest in the whole series has just nosedived compared to somewhat of the interest I had initially. But I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts on it.
Yeah, Cal, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Watching the presentation, it was like, damn, like, oh my god, a 5070 is gonna beat a 4090, and like I was tricked for a good 20 minutes, and I was like, nah, let me look at this real quick. Started looking up stuff, and I was like, there's just no freaking way. Like, there's no way. They're on the same exact node. Sorry, it's like what kind of like Intel did with Skylake.
Yeah,
like
just a refined. Yeah,
right. And so it's like it really just feels like just a repeat of the last generation. Like they should have made another Super Series, and or should have saved the Super Series and just did this. And I think like maybe that in combination with them having issues with Blackwell in general, like a while ago, like during the middle of summer, there was like a lot of like wafer issues.
Yeah,
I think that combined with like TSMC's line just being completely loaded with everyone is making them cornered into a weird spot. And my theory is that we're gonna have a really short 50 series. Like it's gonna be like they want to launch again in August, September for 6,000 or whatever they call it, and we're gonna have exactly starting from the time we can get them like a year and a half instead of 2 years. So what about you, Erock?
Oh man, I echo a lot of the same thoughts as you guys. I mean, so obviously I was excited at first, just like you, Techwando. I was tricked for a brief minute. For a minute, I thought we were actually getting that real generation uplift, right? Like I actually thought they were going to do the thing that everybody wants them to do. And I'm like, great, awesome.
I saw your initial tweet. You were hyped, man.
Yeah, for a minute I was like, dude, yes, this is it. This is it. And then just like you, I'm like, but would Nvidia really do that? I mean, they should, but would they? Would they? And so I was like, let me look into it. I start comparing the specs, and I'm like, I see what they're doing. No. And then I'm just like, and I mean, I even thought about taking the tweet down, but I'm like, what's the point? Like part of the tweets are like the live reaction and stuff. Exactly. I mean, it's a moment in history. Obviously, I'm not the only person to feel that way at first, and that's what marketing's meant to do. It's meant to. Gotcha. Get you excited.
Geniuses, that's for sure.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, the moment you look into it, though, you just start to realize you're like, okay, dude, this is half the VRAM. Like the CUDA cores are way cut down. There's just no way. So yeah, what were we gonna say?
The wild thing about it is like if you go on Facebook or Reddit PCMR and you look at these people for the first like week and a half, it was just memes, endless memes of people being like, we're owning you now. Like in other words, people who could afford, and there's nothing. Listen, I do like budget segments on my channel, like I am running a Titan XP right now, but the point of saying like everyone's like, oh yeah, we're gonna, like they're doing all these meme videos and stuff acting like the 4090 is now owned. The 4090 is like the in between better, the 4090 went up in value. Like it literally went up in value. I sold mine. I sold mine for $2,000. Like,
honestly, I've been tempted. I've been tempted. But I'm like, I still need it for the test bench. So I'm like, I can't.
I really didn't want to, but the guy Min in the video, he was like, "I'll be the bad guy for you," because I'm like, I don't want to be a scalper and like ask for $2,000. He's like, "Why don't you sell it?" And I was like, "I don't want to do that. Like, it feels weird." And he's like, "I'll do it for you." And I was like, "All right, you post it, see what happens." Day came. He's like, "Already sold." Like a day later. Yeah. And I was like, "Nah." Yeah. He was like, it was snowing out too. He was like, "Can you have him? Can you set up a date, like a time to go meet him?" And I was like, yeah, can we meet at a police station? I made it like complicated. I was like, yeah, I can't do that time because I didn't really want to get rid of it. And I ended up meeting him, and the kid was like he was a nice kid, but he was totally a scalper. He had just got a 5080. He had just got a 5090. I don't know how this kid got them, and like maybe he was like exaggerating. I have no idea. But I was like, all right, $2,000, okay.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess he was planning to pay you $2,000, which was, so that's a benefit for you, but then he's hoping to turn around and flip it for $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah. He probably put it on eBay, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, none of us like scalpers, right? And we're not gonna, endorse that or anything. Yeah. But then at the same time, well, how can they keep getting away with it? Because people are buying it.
It's like
it's that simple.
It's all of our faults and their fault at the same time. They're shorting the amount of supply, right? Yeah. And it's like, I don't like, this one was really bad, man. I've never, I don't know how far back you guys go with tech stuff, but like I go to like 2008. Like I have never seen a launch this bad ever. Like I think the other one that was this bad was maybe the 30 series because of the pandemic. But like,
but like back then, you had valid reasons, right? Like it was the pandemic. A lot of manufacturers were on lockdowns as well, especially in Asia. They were harsh over there. Production lines were just limited, so there were obviously valid reasons. Crypto was booming, and then everyone and their grandma wanted a gaming PC, and there was a whole bunch of issues, people working from home and whatnot, so everyone wanted a gaming PC back then. But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, what's the reason for this, right? I mean, look, TSMC, they're pretty much the sole manufacturer. They're doing Nvidia, Apple, AMD, Qualcomm. They're doing a whole bunch of companies. So, I mean, they're obviously limited too, but I'm like, Nvidia, you guys didn't foresee this. So I don't know. A lot of people, I've seen the theories out there. I've watched a whole bunch of other podcasts as well. And, a lot of people are speculating that, Nvidia is just kind of artificially doing this to create hype and FOMO.
Yeah. I think I even said that I did a video, like it was like my only rant video I've ever done, talking about, GPU launches have to change. And I want to see them change, like, let's even say, just hypothetically, let's say Nvidia legitimately gave us the best they could, just for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking at the numbers, you're saying that's the best you can give us, then hold it. Wait until you can do a little more, or at least work with retailers to implement some type of better communication process where there's like a pre-order process or something. My whole point with this was I went to my local micro center. So I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate. I live in Georgia. We have 2 micro centers here, not just one.
Damn,
so I'm very fortunate on that. And so my local one, the one closest to me, I get there. It's literally the entire building. Just side to side, and then some are people. Let me tell you, I drove around. You have people that they're intense. They were sleeping bags. One guy had some type of generator with him, and he had a table set up, and he had a GameCube sitting on it with a TV, and he was playing GameCube. I was like, I almost stopped the car. I was like, I want to get out and hang out and play. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, I'm like, well, there's no way I'm getting a card, so I'm gonna go back home. And this is before the Astral was sent to me or anything like that for review. So I was just like everybody else. I was there. I came. I was willing to wait and pay the money if it was reasonable. But anybody with 2 eyes could look and say, okay, at this point, there's just I didn't even know where the line started. Yeah, it was literally like just end to end on the building segment. I had no idea. I was like, I don't know if that's the start or if that's the start. And then you had people all sprinkled out in the parking lot. And the thing I didn't understand was like, okay, you guys are camping here, but you're not even in the line. Like, what are you hoping to accomplish at 9 a.m. when the store opens? So, but the point is, I I was so upset about the launch because it's 2025. Technology is better than it's ever been before. You have every form of communication on the planet. All of this is completely avoidable. It's completely avoidable. If you want to make sure that more people get cards, if you want to make sure that people aren't wasting their time sitting in the cold for 2-3 days at a time outside, you could prevent that if you wanted to. But it goes back to the manufactured FOMO that we were talking about. They want this. They want this.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we were saying, right? Like we saw the benchmarks and stuff. You know, it seemed underwhelming, especially with the 5080, right? Like it's only, I don't know, depending on whose benchmark you guys saw, it was like 10%, 12% faster than a 4080, 4080 Super.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they had a whole bunch of stock available, I mean, I think for the 5080, to be fair, they had a decent amount of stock from what I was seeing in Micro Center.
Yeah,
in Canada,
wasn't too bad.
We got jack shit. But I think if they had like decent amount of normal stock, then that would have it wouldn't have created that hype, because then you would have seen all the cards sitting on shelves. And I don't think it would have necessarily created that FOMO that they're looking for. So I think this way it's more of a psychological thing, right? It's like you see people are like, oh yeah, I'm getting a 5080 and it's so hard to get one, but I finally got one. And you see people on places like Reddit and social media and YouTube posting about it.
On the 5080 aspect, I kind of said this to you, Erock. It's like right now, after selling my card, I don't really know what to buy in between. Like I could go with an older 3090 and potentially have VRAM issues because of heat and all this stuff, and it's 5 years old at this point, right?
Yeah.
Or I can buy a 5080 MSRP Founders Edition if I'm lucky. Those are always the most expensive, and make $1,000 and have $1,000 card that's pretty decent at video editing and stuff. So I'm kind of like, I'm a little torn because like, Erock, you understand this, right? You got the Astro. Like, it's hard because it's like you don't want to suggest the card because it's not a viable like increase over last gen. But then again, if someone's coming from 30 series, 20 series, it kind of does make sense. And it's like, it's such a tough one. And but I might be buying a 5080. But weird to say, but I'm definitely going MSRP.
You definitely have to for it to make sense.
Or as close as possible, at least.
Exactly. And like I was looking at the prices and I was like, over here at least, and I'm like, I didn't pay this like the amount for a 5080. I was like, I only paid a little bit more for a 4090. It's about neck and neck. So I was like, you're getting an inferior card, you're getting less VRAM, and then it's like you could have enjoyed that performance like 2.5 years earlier.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It really is. So a couple of things I want to mention on that. So I'll start with a simple one. So Linus really recently did a video with his WAN show, and one of the clips I caught from that was usually I just watch the clips. I don't have time to watch the entire show. But I was watching one of the clips. I saw the title, and I think the premise was something along the lines of, what we do, does it even matter? Does it even matter what we do anymore? And when you listen to his logic and he starts going through, and keep in mind, it's like the biggest tech creator out there. He's talking about his numbers, we have this many subs, we're getting this many views, this many people actually finish the video. And he shows his retention graph, and you can see how many people fell off during that video. So they didn't make it to the conclusion. And he's talking about the 5080 video. They didn't make they did not make it to the final conclusion. They didn't make it to the final recommendation. And come launch day, people are lined up around the country at every Micro Center. 100-something people. When I showed up, like I fully expected when I showed up, I fully expected to have 9-10 people ahead of me. Totally. And I was that's fine. That's cool. I can live with that, Dude, when I saw just one side to one side, the entire building covered in people, I was floored. I was like, did you guys not? I'm not even gonna say like, did you not see my video? But probably not, because I'm not the biggest tech creator. But did you not see Linus? Did you not see GN? Did you not see anybody? Like, did you not see the reviews of this? Do you not realize? Like, Danny, going back to what you were saying. So Tech Power Up. For some reason, I memorized this by heart. So 5080 techpowerup.com. 5080 compared to the 4080 is exactly 11% faster. 5080 compared to the 4080 Super is exactly 9% faster, according to techpowerup.com. I don't know why I remember those numbers. I looked at them one time, and for some reason, they just locked in the memory. But that's not something to get excited about, right?
Nope.
Anyway,
Yeah, it's just looking back at like all the previous generations, specifically the 80 class, right? This is like the first time I think the 80 class doesn't beat the last generation flagship. It like falls behind it by like 15% or so. I did see some pretty promising overclocking results, but I mean that's the whole conversation of like not many people do overclocking. But I mean, just out of the box, it's disappointing because you don't. Yeah, it's the first time you don't see the 80 class beat the 90 class or the TI or the flagship.
Yeah, you go back like as far back as like the 780 Ti to the 970, the let's say what the 1070 and the 980 Ti. Like it just kind of keeps going. 2080 Ti was a little bit weird because of that whole stopgap and introducing RTX. But
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to touch on that you were talking about a while ago, Kyle, was you're like, Erock, you got the Astral. Yeah. So I did
let's talk about this.
Yeah, oh my goodness, man. I get in so much trouble for this. So one of the reasons why I haven't put out my review yet. So fun fact, all this behind me. So this is a full test bench. I sent both of you guys private pictures. So I got the test bench behind me. This is a 4K OLED TV. I was up until 4 o'clock last night in the morning, or 4 o'clock this morning working. 2 more hours, I would have been up 24 hours. So I was up 22 hours straight and just running benchmarks. When I tell you I'm really taking my time, I am taking my time. I even contacted Asus. I said, look, I want to be fair. I want to be objective. I want to read feedback, and I want to do my best to, even if it's dumb or inconvenient, I'm going to go out of my way to honor my community's feedback and to try to give people what they want. I did not own Spider-Man 2. Somebody asked for it. So I went out and dropped like $52 on a discount just to get the game. And I already know it's a bad port, buggy mess, going through a lot of crap right now. But I have somebody in my community who requested it. So I'm going to go spend the money and invest the time, and I'm going to benchmark it for you, right? So I got 4K, I got 1440, and I got ray tracing, and it's all coming. And then the Tower 300, I did a video on that before you buy the Tower 300, and it was talking about like my PNY 4090 was hitting ADC in that dang thing. Well, I had 2 comments on that unboxing video where somebody asked me, hey, can you break back out the Tower 300 and, do testing? And I'm like, yeah, that's not inconvenient at all. I'm just going to go get it out of storage, take it out the box, build an entire new PC in it. Obviously, it's very inconvenient, but I'm going to do it because, again, I want to try to honor the community. At this point, all the benchmarks are out there, right? So me just running a bunch of benchmarks and regurgitating basically the same thing that everybody else is already doing isn't really adding a lot of value. Yes, I'll get views. Yes, I'll get clicks. Cool. But I'm at a point here on YouTube now where it's like, I'm ready to scale this thing and grow. And so in order to do that, I have to differentiate myself. And one thing that I can do that the bigger guys are not going to do is actually read those comments and take that as feedback and get in there and do the nitty gritty stuff. Right. I'm not saying the bigger guys don't read the comments. That's not what I'm saying. But like, breaking back out the Tower 300 that I haven't looked at since I made that video, that is a massive inconvenience for me, but I'm going to do it because I have people in my community who want that specific content. And hopefully, it will resonate with people. And the thing with the Astral, real quick, I know I've been talking for a second, but the thing with the Astral is, honest to God, I can tell you this. On one hand, it's a 5080. You know what I mean? Like you can only you can polish it so much, but at the end of the day, it's a 5080, right? It does not matter how good of a 5080 it is still a 5080, and there's not really anything you can do to change that.
Right.
On the other hand, though, if you're somebody who's like, hey, I'm fine with it being a 5080, I just want to get a really good card. I can honestly say the Astral, hands down, is the best GPU I've ever personally touched in terms of quality. I'm not saying it's the best in terms of VRAM or gaming. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in terms of like pure quality. I mean, if you touch the card, hands down, immediately you're like, okay, I understand why this is more expensive. And I'm probably going to say this in my video. I'm not saying the card is justified at $1,500, but I will say the card is justified to be more expensive than MSRP.
Yeah. I would say like $13.99. They could have slipped that. Yeah. It's just that extra 100 on top that everyone's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, you're 100 away from MSRP of 4090,
Yeah.
But you could be like, that's 10%, right? Like, not great math there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
I mean, if it didn't matter at all and people were like, just buy the cheapest, then you would see it sitting on shelf. But I mean, that's clearly not the case. People are buying the Astral. A lot of people are going. Even the 5090 Astrals, those things are selling like hotcakes. Like they come in stock and then boom, instantly they're sold out.
Yeah.
People,
people want to pay for that good value.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, man. And this, I even said that in one of my videos where I was like, I think I said something to the extent of YouTube is not real life or something like that. Basically indicating you can go to the YouTube comments and you can read everybody hating on you. Well, why didn't you say anything negative, or why are you not, blah blah blah, whatever. And it's like, well, one, I clearly said that was an unboxing video and the review's coming, but two, putting that technical detail aside, like you just said, the purchase history speaks for itself. You go to eBay, go to any other e-tailer's website and filter by sold. And you're going to see you're absolutely the general populace they're buying these cards. And that's why Nvidia, Asus, MSI, whoever you want to say, that's why they're listing these cards at these prices, is because they know, that's a vocal minority in the comments.
It is. No, it absolutely is. You're actually right on that. Because if you look recently, MSI and Asus, I don't know about the other partners if they're going to follow on them, but they actually jacked up their prices on their official stores. So obviously what you see in retail now, they're gonna be more expensive too. And I mean, it goes back to people on social media and places like YouTube comment sections. They're all gonna whine and scream and yell that, oh, it's too expensive and who's buying this, and clearly they're selling, right? The markup obviously compared to previous generations, even for like the premium models, like if you go back like to the 10 series, like the super higher end MSI models, they were only like, what was the MSRP on the 1080 Ti? It was $699, right?
Yeah.
So you go back and take a look at some of the higher end Strix, and back then I don't think MSI had Vanguard. They had like the Gaming Z or whatever. I think it was like a $50 increase at most. So I mean, it was easier pill to swallow for sure, a lot more easily digestible. But now you look at it, look at the Astro, the Matrix from Asus, or the Supreme from MSI, and it's like almost like $800, $900 over MSRP, over a $2,000 card, which is already a lot of money to begin with.
They did do it years ago. I actually have, like, I think I showed you, Erock, there's a Poseidon back there that's a 780 Ti, and the MSRP of that one was like, I mean, it's a water block squished together, so it's a little more expensive, but the MSRP I think was like somewhere around, dude, I don't want to screw it up, but it was like $200-$300 more than the rest of them, if I remember correctly. But they've been always kind of doing it. It's just like you said, Danny, like they used to be 50 to 100 more, and then you're like, all right, I'm getting a better cooler, because the FE coolers were always kind of trash. I mean, I'm literally on a Titan XP, and like I play Call of Duty for 5 minutes, and it's like, like the whole time just going nuts. Which, by the way, I fixed it, and I got to admit something here. I messed up the benchmarks in my Titan XP video, because Call of Duty has this weird problem when you take the resolution down in game on like a 4K screen, and you like how do I say this? Not the render resolution, but if you drop it to 1080p and then you play the game in 1080p, if you're on borderless, it doesn't work. It will lose 10 to 15 FPS. So all my benchmarks are way off compared to the rest of everyone else's. So now I'm like, oh my God, I have to go back and like fix that because I'm wrong. But also, who's buying this card right now? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, you could, for that, something like that, I would just leave like a sticky saying, hey, borderless issue, just add maybe 10% or something or whatever.
It brought it from like 50 to like 45, 50 FPS to up to about 70 to 80, depending on the map. It was weird. It was like, it's all over the place. The cards, it's an old card. It's a 1080.
Sounds like a pinned comment solution is what that is.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe I should go write that soon. But,
just do the pinned comment and move on. Because like you said, I mean, people aren't actively buying that card.
It's not like a highly watched video or anything.
That's an entertainment video just for the lulz, or just just because for sure, absolutely. So
unless you're Optium or whatever, then you get like 100,000 views.
Wait, is that how you say it? Is it Optium? Because you're talking about I call them Optimum Tech. You're talking about the
Optimum Tech, Optium,
whatever. Because he used to be it used to be Optimum Tech, and then he dropped it off. I mean, that guy's awesome. I love this content, man. And I'm like, man, how do I get my B-roll looking like that? I'm over here buying it.
He's a video editor. He's a video editor first, then content creator. But like I could tell if you go way back, dude. I think we talked about this. Go way back, look at his videos. He's already like, I just bought the new 6000, like A6000, whatever back then. You know. So,
big baller in his early days.
And Mr. Matt Lee's the same vein, man. I mean, his content, goodness gracious. Like
that guy is probably a wedding photographer, videographer too on the side.
Yeah, well, actually, I saw a video that he posted on X probably about a year ago talking about his background, and he used to be a high-end sports card videographer. So he used to be paid to make promotional videos for high-end sports cards or something like that.
That's cool.
So he's used to doing high-end anyway. But his content is awesome.
They go hand in hand for sure, like cars
for sure,
and like computers and stuff.
So so getting back to the whole GPU stuff, okay, so Kyle, you're on the fence. You're like, you might get a 5080, you might not get a 5080. Danny, where are you at?
Me, honestly, if and you and I, we talked about this privately. Basically, it was if I wasn't really doing any sort of YouTube content on the side, like my interest would be like totally zero. But it's just for the sake of maybe testing it out, making some videos about it. But honestly, like right now, like even now, like I still don't have the energy to go out and refresh websites and hit F5 or call around to like local electronic retailers and be like, do you guys have it in stock? Like I'm just past that point. I'm like, if I see it in stock one day, maybe cool. I'll check it out. But if not, then I'm just I'm cool with it.
I feel you. And Kyle, what were you gonna say a while ago? I felt like I cut you off for a minute. Sorry, man.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so as a consumer, I have zero interest in the 50 series cards, 110%, because I have a 4090 that I paid for. Nobody sent it to me. Like I paid for that. I went to Micro Center. I paid $1,600. That's why it's a PNY model, because when I bought it, obviously you have the people that are happy for you, but then you always have the people that are like, get a PNY and that, all that crap. And I'm like, because it was it was in stock, and B, it was the cheapest model, and even being the cheapest model, it's a $1,600 card. So I paid for that, and so as a consumer having a 4090, I would just sit on it. Like if you're somebody who has a 4090, there's really no reason to get a 5090, and anything below a 5090 is a downgrade.
I have regrets. Yes. I am regretting things.
But
you sold your 4090.
It was an FE too.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, but at the same time though, money talks though, man. I mean, like you said, because there's another guy that's been popping up a lot on my X feed. Sorry, I forget his name. He's a smaller tech creator. I don't even think he has 1,000 subs yet, but he's focusing on how to get a GPU. Like that's like, hey, go to this website. That style of stuff, right? Yeah,
I might have seen him.
Probably. Well, he ended up making a video recently that said kind of what you're talking about. Hey, if you have this card, sell it, make this money. Downgrade, get this card, which is still really good, and then you profit. And then later, when stock becomes more plentiful, you can sell it and then put all the money together and go get a 50 series. And I think I don't think that translated well to the community. I think a lot of people were like, dude, this is stupid. But yeah, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
He's not wrong. Like, so in years past, we used to do this. And I'm going to tell you something right now that might get me in trouble, but Micro Center a long time ago had this warranty, right? Where something would naturally just go wrong at the end of 2 years and you'd return the card and get a new one. And it's like, if Nvidia kept the pricing structure, you could kind of just like keep doing it. I have only done it one time, I will admit, and there was actually something weird. I had it was a 1080 Ti EVGA, and there was one of the display ports, because I run 3 screens, one of the display ports was malfunctioning. The other were fine. I had no issues with my setup at all, but because that one was malfunctioning, I took it back and returned it, and I got my money back, and I believe that's when I bought the 2080 Ti. I think I got it from, I forget actually, no. I returned it for a different, I don't remember what I got. It might have been like a 2080 or something, but I was like flipping cards, and that was like one thing that they used to do. That I don't think you can do that anymore. I'm pretty sure they're like,
I know people still talk about doing that.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I have
I'm
two
not suggesting it, by the way.
I have 2 micro centers in my state, so I know quite a few people that are like, yeah, get the micro center warranty, and then
cut this part out. Cut this. No, but
I mean, if they don't
saying,
have that same replacement, then the next best thing for them to do to honor that warranty is the modern equivalent.
Yeah.
I was told this by like a micro center employee like 10 years ago, and they were like, just get the upgrade system. And I was like, upgrade system? What are you talking about? And they're like, the warranty that you can buy for $200 or $100 or whatever, and just upgrade every 2 years. But long story short, what was I going to say? So, oh yes, upgrading. You can upgrade by just flipping it before. I've always done that. I've always flipped my high-end card, whether it be like an 80 Ti or a 90 or whatever, about 3 months to 2.5 months or something like that before the next launch. And it's pretty much always worked. And I'll downgrade to like a 60 or 70 class in that series, and then I'll take that money and move it towards the next thing. It didn't really work in 2020 with the 30 series. I had to cough up money and pay a scalper, and I did. I paid I think $1,200 for a 3080. And for the 30, so let me see. Yeah, that's it. I've actually, since then, I've paid pretty much, like I sold that. I got a 3080 Ti. I sold that, and then I bought my 4090. Actually, I have 4080 and then a 4090. I only bought the 4080 because I got it for a pretty good deal, and it died. The memory went bad. No, it was brand new. It was a Zotac card, and one of the memory modules was bad, so it started like artifacting. And I sent it in for repair, and Zotac was one of the worst companies to deal with repair. I've bought a lot of their cards, and I have not that many issues with them, but I just got this one brand new. Tons of problems getting it to RMA. They sent back a really beat up card that was like terrible. I was like, I'm not accepting this. I just bought a brand new 4080. Like, no way. Yeah. And during that time, I have this friend that I kind of like mention on the channel often. His name is Mel. He dropped off that 4090 FE, and he's like, I'm just going to leave this with you, and you're probably going to never, like, you're going to take this. You know what I mean? Like, it's like kind of forcing it out of me. And so I did some work for him. Yeah. No, he's awesome. He's an awesome dude, too. And but he's always flipping cards. This guy has like 500 cards at his house. He's like insane. He like heats his house with like mining rigs and stuff. Like, just one of those guys. Yeah. But yeah, he dropped it off, and he was like, just give it back to me whenever, like knowing that I would be like, all right, I can't go down now. Like, I can't go back. The power's too good.
That is the problem when you get into the PC space, right? And you start getting into PC building, PC gaming, most people, not all, but most people kind of come in closer to the mid-range budget level stuff. And over time they dream about, I can't, like one day I can't wait to upgrade and get the big boy, get the biggest one. Right. The problem with that, outside of the money, obviously, is once you go big, it's hard to go back. Yeah, it's hard to go back. So I did an all white Asus build over the holidays. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but in that build video, there's a 4070 Super. And so I don't know why, I think I was just being lazy. It was the holidays. And so anyway, it was already, the 4070 Super was already plugged in or something. I was in a situation where I didn't have my 4090. I was just using that. 4070 Super is fine, but I noticed it. Like I noticed this was not my 4090. It just, it just didn't have the same punch. And it's just it's kind of like when you go to 60 FPS, if you're a console player, if you go to 60 FPS for the first time, and then you step back to 30 FPS after a couple of weeks, you're like, what in the world is, it matters. You notice it matters. Okay, so we've been talking about GPUs for about 34 minutes. One more thing on GPUs before we switch to the next topic. What do you guys think of the future of GPUs? Because right now you have Nvidia, who's the king, but they're not really innovating. And we just got a like, to me, the short version is 50 series is kind of like the 40 super, like exactly. The 5080 is kind of like the 4080 Ti super, or super,
just
something
bunch
like
of revisions,
that. Pretty much just the revision. It's not like an actual gen on gen change or anything.
It's
and then of course, and then the magic there is the what is it, fairy dust is multi-frame generation, right?
There you go.
So Okay. So my question is like, okay, Nvidia, you gave us frame generation. Now you're giving us multiple frame generation or multi-frame generation. What's next? You can't just keep saying now it's multi-frame generation.
Honestly, I see it going that way right now, man, because they just don't really have like a huge, fire underneath them or any sort of competition. That's the whole reason why we're into this situation in the grand scheme of things, right? Where people are lining up for 5080s, even though we're like, yo, it's not worth it. But I think I see that's the direction we're gonna go into if, I don't know, either Intel or AMD pulls some kind of miracle and are starting to fight, start trading blows with Nvidia in terms of like pure raster, and we kind of go back to that. But I think for the time being, until that happens, Nvidia is just gonna be like, okay, you know what, we're just gonna sit on this. We're good with hardware. We're going to tell people that, yeah, we're just at the limit of hardware. So we're just going to keep feeding people on AI stuff. Like I was looking at the update on the Nero compression texture stuff. And yeah, like it's kind of impressive, right? Like you have the same sort of image and textures and you're using like 80% less VRAM. So I think that's going to be the next big thing. I don't know if they said that the 50 series is going to be compatible with that. I think they said that they are. But I see that totally being the direction where they're going to basically be selling you less hardware and selling you more on the software side of things, which is funny because it's like, I don't know how much they're investing on that software side of things, if it's more cost effective for them to do that rather than just, slapping more VRAM onto the cards themselves. So yeah, I see that as the direction, just AI everywhere. That's it.
Gotcha. Okay. What about you, Kyle?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's been pretty much that for a while now. So one thing that I've always been a little bit annoyed about with Nvidia is that they launch on a new idea, like frame gen or a new concept, and then by the time you're implementing it realistically, it's always like way later on another generation. It's like we started with 20 series with ray tracing, and it's like, sure, ray tracing does look good in some circumstances. Obviously, not every game looks good, but it just feels like we're always like chasing the rabbit a little bit with what they're releasing. When it comes to AMD, I kind of feel bad a little bit for AMD, but also annoyed because it's like, all right, you're copying them. You're copying the naming scheme. You had a pretty good video on this, Danny. I remember it was like, yeah, I agreed with like everything you said. Just like straight up stealing their name. But they are trying to play catch up. I think they're always going to be playing catch up, just like forever. I don't think it's ever going to be. Nvidia's just like too big. Yeah, they're the third. I don't know if they're third now, but they were the second largest company in the world. I used to make all these like Skynet jokes to people, and I'd be like, one day, you don't know, but this company is going to be big.
Well, my take on it is, I worry that we're hitting silicon limits. Like what's even physically capable at this time with GPUs. So it's hard to say this, right? Because I know what the gamers want, but then I see the reality. The reality is Nvidia has absolutely zero motivation to change anything. Part of it's competition, like you were talking about. The other part of it is what we've already talked about, is that even though we were seeing the lackluster gen-on-gen performance uplift, people are still lining up around the block to buy these things. And Nvidia knows that. Nvidia knows we're going to do what we want. We're Nvidia and people are going to buy it. And that sucks, and it's very unfortunate, but that's the reality. From the gaming standpoint, here's what I think gamers could get on board with here in the YouTube space when everybody's writing their comments and complaining about Nvidia and the pricing. Here's what I think they could do. If Nvidia just came out and was honest and was transparent, just like the three of us try to be with our audience, and say, look, we have hit the limit of what is possible at this time. We're not gonna stop trying. We're not gonna stop trying to innovate. But what we're gonna do is, this is a small, gen-on-gen uplift here, but the prices are lower. We're giving you more VRAM, and we're now focusing on efficiency improvements. And then here's all the AI slop on top of it, right? If they just did that, I think more people would be like, hey, okay, that sucks, but we get it. There are physical limitations to this world and what can be achieved, right? I saw, what was it, UFD Tech? I think it was UFD Tech, right around the launch of right when the reviews were going live. I think he did a video and he was like sitting in a chair somewhere. He wasn't in his normal studio. And he was talking about how I thought it was a very well-made point. He basically said, he essentially said, we as gamers take engineering for granted. We just expect, oh, in 2 years, you're going to perform another miracle and boom, just give us something but you forget people have to go to work every day. People like you and me, whoever majors in this stuff, they have to go to work every day and actually do that work. They actually have to figure out a way to solve that problem. And just how here in North America, we still don't have over-the-counter solutions for things like cancer or other diseases.
Basic stuff too.
There are limitations in this world. And so I think from a gaming standpoint, people would at least respect Nvidia a little bit more if they were just honest about it. And I don't see any shame in being honest about it. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I don't agree with the whole this whole consensus that some people drive that, oh yeah, Nvidia just doesn't care about gamers anymore. I mean, occasionally I'll do that too in a headline, right? Just to kind of be like, oh yeah, they don't. But the reality is, if they actually didn't care about gamers, then they would have completely abandoned that whole segment. Like, they actually gave a decent sized presentation on like AMD, or like, yeah guys, you'll hear more about AMD and FSR4 and RDNA 4 later on. But they actually they're rolling out features, and they're giving decent features. It's not like it's all total doom and gloom when they're selling us on the AI stuff. Because I mean, I recently made some videos on it. I was like testing out DLSS4, the transformer model, and I'm like, this is actually really good, because I'm like, I can use and the fact that I can use it on a RTX 2080, which is nearly a 7-year-old graphics card now, and breathe more life into the GPU. I'm like, this is actually good. Like, this is a bone that Nvidia is throwing to gamers who can't actually upgrade. I'm like, they're actually looking out for gamers in a way here, especially it's going to come in clutch for handheld consoles. I know a lot of handheld consoles, they're not going to be using NVIDIA, but I mean, AMD is going to be coming out with FSR4, and I mean, Intel has ZSS. So
Switch 2
that
coming.
kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, Switch might. I've been hearing about that with the new Tegra. So I mean, I don't know. Like, there's some cool stuff that NVIDIA is still doing right for gamers, and they can do a really good job at selling that. And they are clearly, it's working, because X4 frame generation, I know decent amount of people who are genuinely interested in, and it's not like it's total just snake oil, right? If you try, I've only tried X2 frame generation because I don't have a 50 series, but with X2 frame generation, like, that's how I played Cyberpunk with path tracing, and I was like, I mean, it's totally usable. The input lag, it's not that big of a difference. I'm not a professional gamer, so I don't care. At the end of the day, it allows me to enjoy that eye candy, and I get to do another run through of Cyberpunk and enjoy a really good game.
Yeah.
I have 2 kind of questions for both of you at the same time. Okay. So obviously, Erock, like, you have the 50 series on hand, so you've been able to test the multi-frame gen, assuming you can say some stuff before releasing it.
So I'm actually, I've only played with it a little bit. Tonight I'm actually doing the deep dive on the frame gen. Last night was all raster. So I was up 22 hours doing raster, no ray tracing, raster with ray tracing. So tonight is the night that I'm going to be up doing all the frame gen stuff and looking for artifacting and things of that nature. I will say this though, Hogwarts Legacy, I was doing raster on that. Turned out wasn't raster. It was actually frame generation enabled, but it was the X2 mode.
Yeah.
Oh, so
but here's what happened. All the DLSS stuff was grayed out. And for those who may not know, whenever you're, at least in Hogwarts Legacy, when it's grayed out, that means it's turned off. That's what the coloration means. Hey, if it's turned on, it's colorful, you can see it. But if it's grayed out, it's in the background, that means it's turned off, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's turned off, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the game and I'm like, man, this frame rate's a lot higher than I expected it to be. Yeah. And I'm looking at it was the frame time graph that saved me. Because with frame generation, the frame time graph, it's just like a big block. It's not your normal wave. It's a big block. And I'm like, that frame time graph is making it see. It's like there's something wrong here. So I went and I looked, and even though all the DLSS stuff was completely grayed out, if you looked underneath one of them, it said frame generation X2. And I'm like, if I didn't know better, I would say frame generation is enabled, but it should be disabled. What's going on? So here's what I did. I turned on DLSS to get access to that. Deactivated frame generation, then deactivated DLSS, and now it's all gray again. Now it's all gray, but that X2's not there. Frame rate goes down by like 50, 60 FPS. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me right now, dude. So far, that's been my experience with frame generation.
Because it just auto enables.
You hit the nail on. You hit the head on the nail of one of my biggest pet peeves, because I was just recently doing some benchmarking as well for some games for a video I'm working on. And I'm like, I hate how a lot of these newer games are doing this is when you're switching between presets or activating certain settings, they're just automatically turning on upscaling and frame generation. I was like, stop doing this. Like you're ruining my run to run results. Like just stop. Like just let me like if it's a high preset, I just want to see high in the graphics. Like don't turn on upscaling if I'm choosing this preset. Like upscaling comes afterwards. Stop doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because I don't do the same stuff you guys do with like benchmarks as often, but I went to go play Cyberpunk with path tracing on, and I went to turn it on, and every time I would turn on it would turn on FSR3 or FSR3, and instead of Nvidia frame gen, I was like, what the heck? I would turn on Nvidia's frame gen, and it would just go to FSR. I didn't know that like deep in Windows you have to turn on hardware acceleration to have that even work, and I've been like just running it off this entire time, so none of my games have automatically enabled any of that stuff ever. And so when everyone was like, oh, it auto enables it, I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like
That's
I've like
tip. That's a good tip from benchmarking, huh?
Yeah, so if you turn off the hardware acceleration in Windows 11, because I'm on 11, which I really want to try the Windows 10 Enterprise that I think you had posted it to. Techia City was also talking about like some variations that they're going to be trying to like make work, which I have a couple thoughts on that. I'm like, when people benchmark on Windows 10, it's cool because it gets the best numbers in a lot of scenarios, but also it's like not the majority of people at this point, I think, right? Like what's the percentage of people on Windows 10? I'm not even sure.
I actually did do a poll on my community page, and surprisingly, like Windows 11 is now overwhelmingly the majority.
Yeah, I would assume because like people just want the new thing. Like if I sell a computer, I do that. Like even if it's an older one, I'll do like the bypass to put Windows 11. I've never had a single problem with Windows 11 on an older computer.
I think it's the fear because of the support.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my PC actually, like in the beginning, from you probably saw that the old kind of crappy issue video that I put out a long time ago, which I kind of regret in some ways because I didn't do a good job at it. But I was like mostly it was mostly regurgitating like Brian's like stuff because I was having so many issues with Intel, which I just checked out your video too. It was like I was just having so many problems with my chip. I replaced it and I was having issues upon issues, and I really think it was like the Asus board that I had just pushing the chip to the max.
That's what I changed.
And once I changed the board, even undervolting it and stuff, I still ran into issues. Like it was like, I don't know, man. It was one of those things.
You really have to get into the deep nitty gritty of the load line in order for it to really tame it. MSI does the same thing with their earlier BIOSes because they sent me some boards to check out, and like it would just default unlimited power limit, so it's like 4,096 amps, or sorry, 512 amps. Or no, it was 4,000 amps. I was like,
no, 4,096. Yeah,
4,096 amps, and it's just like unlimited power limit. It just they just run away with it. So I think that was one of the big causes for a lot of the issues people had on Intel.
Yeah, and it's you're right too, by the way. Not to like sorry, Erock, change course here onto
that's Intel. The next subject, CPU. So go for it.
All right, I guess we can slide into that then. So after watching your videos, it was awesome to hear that your CPU has been good. I was kind of nervous about that because I had a few people offer 14900Ks, and I have like a full custom loop, and I'm still running a 13700K. I'm like, I could put a 14900K in there. And Erock, I talked to you about, I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to AMD, but I haven't seen like enough reasons. Hardware in Box had some good reasons, like if you're benchmarking or like if you're running DLSS and the resolution actually drops down and then you get that bigger boost, like that actually makes sense. But in like most 4K titles, when I had the 4090, I'm not seeing like huge differences between anything. It's like the 13700K is still kind of good.
4K, you're solid.
So I've just been like, but going back to the Intel stability issue, like, man, that was like, I was scratching my head for a long time because I came from Ryzen. I was on a 3950X. I've been on X299, X99, all that stuff dating way back, X58. And when I got the Intel setup, I was like, I know this, like no problem, easy stuff, easy to undervolt, everything's easy. And it was just so unstable. Like I swear my first chip was bad from the get-go. Like it was just like in state, like everything I was doing, I could move my mouse, dude, like across the screen, and it'd be like and stutter randomly.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? Like, but you've never experienced that at all, Danny? Or
not really. Like I have occasionally ran into this weird hitch, but that's it. I see that on every single one of my systems. So when I'm like launching Discord or Steam or something like that, just launching an application,
like
I see that hitch. I see that on my 5800X 3D system as well, and I'm like, I'm like, that's this is more of like a Windows issue that I'm attributing this to. But no, like I saw like Brian's video, I saw Erock's video, I saw yours video. I'm like, I'm not actually experiencing any of this.
Yeah, Erock, you had like kind of a lot of problems with it. I remember.
Yeah, so I actually saw your video, Danny, and I left a comment earlier today, and basically it was saying like I'm happy you made the video. I'm a big fan of 1 year later, however much time later videos. I do it with GPUs as well. I even did it with AM5. I did AM5 1 year later, and and because it's so important. How many reviewers? We're going to review it, throw it in the closet, move on to the next thing. You never go back. And meanwhile, you still see the comments. Hey, how is it? Even on my before you buy AM5 video, which is still doing numbers to this day, I have done everything I can to redirect people to the following videos. I'm like, guys, this is video 1. I have a total of 5 videos now if you include 1 year later. And that tells you the whole trajectory of everything that happened, all the updates, things that are now better, yada, yada, yada. And just trying to force people into the newer videos has been a big chore. But anyway, going back to your question, Kyle. Yeah. So after the whole before you buy AM5 fiasco, so I got my system stable, but I could never hit 6,000 MTs. No matter what I did, I could not get 6,000 MTs to work. And looking back on it, I think it was one of the later Agisa updates that finally unlocked that for me and made that possible. But I wasn't there to see it. Because at that point in time, I had jumped ship and I said, I'm going to go try Intel because, I mean, we all know, for years, Intel king of gaming, Asus really prioritizes Intel, or so it would seem. And anytime you see like a big world record benchmark, people are really there's a lot of promotion around Intel CPUs and what they're capable of doing over the years and stuff. And so, and I have a lot of people in my community and even in my family, Intel. So I kept hearing this and I found Danny around the time. I'm like, well, he's using Intel. And, Kyle, you were using Intel. And I'm like, maybe I should just give this a shot. Right. So, anyway, so I switched over. I was going to go get a 13700K. I saw nothing but good reviews about it. GN loved it. And then around that time, I heard the 14 series. I was about to say GPUs. You know what I'm saying?
We got it.
Yeah. So the 14700K was coming out. And so long story short, I'm like, similar to the Windows situation, similar to the 50 series, might as well have the latest and greatest, right? So I stood out and got that. And dude, I was good for however long. I told you guys, like a month or 2 months, whatever it was. I was good at first and everything was rock solid. And then just out of nowhere one day, it was coincidence. It was a coincidence too. It was right after Christmas. My best friend had purchased me a Gamers Nexus mod mat, and I started using it as a mouse pad. And I'm like, okay. Around that time, I started seeing. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I literally thought for a minute. I'm like, you mean to tell me Gamers Nexus is selling mouse pads that are messing up the mouse? I was like, I never had this issue before. So I got rid of the mouse mat for a minute, or the mod mat, and I went back to my old mouse pad. Same thing. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, maybe my mouse is dying. And then I switched the mouse out. I plugged it in with USB. Nothing I did. Like when I tell you, I spent hours and days. And then that's when I found the old Tech Yes City video talking about it. And then I reached out to both of you guys. I left a comment on your video, Danny, and then we started going back and forth on Twitter. And then Kyle, we started talking in Discord. I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. Like this is an actual thing, okay. And so finally I did my content pieces on that. And then around that time, I was like, it's been about a year for AM5. Maybe it's time I'll switch back. So I ended up switching back to that. And I've been good. My main system right now has a 7800X 3D in it. It's good. I'm actually running 6400 MTs right now. Nice. They don't officially, I think, call it Gear 1, Gear 2 on AMD, but basically it would be, I think, 64 MTs, 6400
1
MTs.
to 1 ratio, or
1
to 2 ratio.
I think Yeah, I think 6400 I think is the highest you can go on AMD before you get before you get past that. Yeah. So that's what I'm running. It's totally fine. I've had zero issues. If I'm being honest, it's probably the most stable system I've had now in the past 2 years. And that includes both AMD and Intel. So there's just something about this system that I'm like, I'm good, you know? When I got the 5080, I wasn't even tempted to put it in there. I'm like, we're going to build a dedicated separate test bench.
Yeah.
And so I went out and got I went out and got a 9800X3D for that. So back here, 9800X3D and all the GPUs.
I didn't even see the bench when you sent it to me. I thought it was like a box. And then I was like, wait. Oh, it is a test bench. That's kind of cool.
Your response to me was, you got to get a test bench. I'm like, zoom in.
I know. Dude, I like barely saw it. I was like, I'm so used to like that one that I use all the time. I don't even know where it came from, dude. Like some dude just dropped it off one day and he was like, you can have this. And now it's like the one that's on every channel. And I don't know, like, I don't even know the brand name. I have like, if someone's like, what test bench is that? I'm like, I don't know. AliExpress or something. No idea.
Yeah, mine was gifted to me by a buddy of mine. Actually, the 4080 Super I'm using in the upcoming benchmarks for the 5080 was loaned to me by the same guy. He's like, hey, you can use my 4080 Super. I just gave it back to him this morning. Nice. And but yeah, he surprised me. He's like, hey, you need a test bench. Here you go. I was like, okay. So the motherboard's on it, PSU's on it, but obviously it doesn't support an AIO. So like I got this big AIO just like hanging over on the table, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa or whatever.
One of the things that I would say would be pretty interesting for like both of you guys. And actually, Danny, I kind of like forgot to ask you this question due to like that frame gen question, because I don't know, did you test lossless scaling? Did you test that yet?
Oh, it's on my list of things to test out, but no, I haven't gotten the chance to test it out.
I tried it and I think I'm doing something wrong because it was really bad for me. And I played around with it for like a good hour, and I was like, maybe I'll make a video, but then I was like, I'm definitely doing something wrong, so I don't want to make a video on it. But what I was gonna say in relation to that is like all this like upscaling and all the stuff that we're always doing. I think it's like not a bad idea. Like Erock, you went out and got the the 9800X 3D, and I think it's like not a bad idea to be like, oh, let's just see what a 5090 does on like a 12700K.
Not a bad idea at all.
Like a 5800X.
I was thinking about that like this just today and like yesterday too. I was just like, because I was seeing like benchmarks from a wide variety of outlets and reviewers, and when they were doing frame generation especially, I was like, there's so much variance in the results. So I think when it comes to frame generation, your CPU actually matters a lot more than what people realize. So it's something that I think I'm going to be exploring later on.
Yeah, because when you're selling those cards, it's like if you're going to sell a 5070 for an example, you have to have a pretty good CPU to back it. So you're already spending a lot of money on one half of that purchase, right? It's
Sorry, specifically the 1% lows is where I was seeing the variance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
1% lows and all the benchmarks I've seen from other creators so far have not been the greatest. But I also know since embargo day, I think Nvidia's pushed out 2 driver updates. I know at least 1, maybe 2, and I think some of that was supposed to address some of those performance issues. But like I said, I'm still testing. I can't even give you guys an honest answer on any of my results because I haven't seen it side by side yet. I basically was up all night, like record, GPU off, GPU on, record, GPU off. Just trying to get through it as accurately as possible, but as fast as possible.
I mean, speaking about that test bench setup, like pre-2020, when I was just doing YouTube on and off and more on the side, I would still consider myself to be just doing YouTube on the side. But look, I was doing most of my benchmarks videos on my own personal system. And then it wasn't until when I got the 3080, I was like, oh, all right, you know what? I'm just going to be building a dedicated test bench now that I'm going to be doing all my testing on separately. Like this is my personal system. Like I'm just done having to mess around with configurations in the BIOS. Then afterwards I would have to go back and revert, and then it starts conflicting with my daily work, and like I'm like, okay, what did I change here? This doesn't seem to be working anymore. So I was like, all right, gotta leave my personal system alone now. Like I just need that to be working stable every day, and anything I want to faffle around with, it's just gonna be on the test bench. Like I got a test bench, I'm gonna mess around with settings. I don't care. It's like I'll go back and fix it later.
Hey, and I think everybody in the tech space starts out that way. I mean, dude, that's what I did. I mean, so many of my early videos, everything was just on one system because we were living on love and trying to get by, you know what I mean? So it was, you know, you're like, I love this stuff. I really want to make YouTube content on it, but I don't have a lot of resources. I don't have a lot of money. So you just make do with what you have. But I think the key is just, just telling people that, just being honest, like, hey, this is what we're doing, right? And like, and as long as it's clear, then it's fine. Not that I'm salty or anything, but I thought I was clear in my unboxing video, but apparently it wasn't.
Hey man, so I don't know what our last topic is here, but I want to throw one out for you because I've
sure. We actually got 2 more topics, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I was just gonna say, like, being like a tech channel, have you found it harder to enjoy like gaming? Because it's like, for me, I'll sit down and I'll start like gaming, and I'm like, I should be recording this, or like I should be doing something around something that I'm doing. It's like, I don't know if anyone that's just personal, but I don't know. What about you guys?
Danny, you can go first on that one if you want.
For me, not so much, because the only thing I would say is making content on YouTube has just taken away more time, more of my leisure time to be actually playing the games that I want to enjoy. Apart from
maybe
that,
that's
like,
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you brought that up, because like this whole channel that I started initially, and you guys can take a look at the embarrassing videos I have still up on from my early days. This was actually supposed to be a channel that I started off as doing more of a gameplay commentary, game review channel. And yeah, I do have some less plays.
I went back
on
once.
the channel. Yeah, I'm like they got no views or whatever, and they're just terrible. But then I eventually started doing some like showcases of like my R9 390. I had that card for a really long time, and that's where I was doing most of my game benchmarks on it. And as new games were coming out, I was like, all right, guys, we're gonna take a look at this game. It's on my R9 390, and I think at that time I was using the 6600K. And I found that more people were watching those kinds of videos, and eventually that's where the direction of the channel just took off. But other than that, like, I mean, no, I mean, I'm not really finding myself saying that if I'm playing something, I should be recording it or not. I just want to find a good balance right now where I can enjoy games more, rather than, wait, I end up just benchmarking a whole bunch of stuff and tinkering around with something in the BIOS.
Yeah.
Does content creation take away from gaming? It does, in the sense, like Danny said, like, I just don't have enough time to do it. I've done better the last 6 or 7 months. I'm very proud of myself for this. I've done a way better job at staying locked in, talking to my friends, and like, in real life, and just being like, hey, tonight we're gaming with the boys. Like, are we meeting Friday night? Are we meeting Saturday night? Are we doing both? And, because I'm a husband and I'm a father as well. So So I'm a SQL database engineer. That's my full-time job. That's what I do every day. I work remotely from home. So I'm in databases writing structured query language. And then I have a wife, I have a kid. So that's a big priority. And then most of my YouTube stuff is all done at night. And so before I was a YouTuber, at night, that would be the time I'd watch a movie with my wife, or that would be the time I'd log on and play video games all during the week. Now, all that time is taken up with recording, benchmarking, editing, recording, benchmarking, and editing. And so the only time I can actually play video games is on the weekend. So for me, it's a bigger escape than it's ever been before. Like last night, one of the reasons why I was up till 4 a.m. was because it was game night with the boys, and I didn't want to miss that. So I was benchmarking all day, stopped at like 9, from 9 to 1, played COD, stopped, and then from like 1 to 4 went back to benchmarks. And at a certain point I said, I got to go to sleep or I'm gonna die, so YouTube does take away from gaming, just in terms of time, but not in terms of enjoyment. I will tell you this, and Kyle, you asked me this privately in a text message a while back, and my answer has changed. Back then you were like, hey, do you still enjoy all the tech content, or whatever, however you worded it? The answer at the time was, oh yeah, I still love watching, all the stuff. So when a GPU comes out, I will watch, 10 videos on it, and I'll get everybody's perspective. And that was very true for over 4 years. I am now getting to the point, like Steve from Hardware Unbox. If you listen to some of their podcasts, he'll talk about, he's like, I don't have anything against other tech creators. He's like, but I'm at a point where I do this all day, every day. When I get on YouTube, I have to watch something else outside of what I just did. You know, and I'm getting to that point now. You know, Lee and Lee has sent me a couple of items. Asus has sent me a ton of items. Deep Cool has sent me stuff. Cooler Master has sent me stuff. You know, I've worked with a lot of different brands now. I feel like I'm getting to the point now to where I was lucky to build 1 PC a year. Now I'm building 2 PCs a quarter, which is still nothing compared to somebody like Jay or something. But, you know, I'm getting there, and it's starting to get to the point. It's like, this is great, but it's not as fun as it used to be, because it's starting
to feel like a job. That's the thing, right?
Exactly.
It's starting to feel like a job. You ask streamers who do like, you know, live playthroughs and stuff, and a lot of them, they're like, I don't really enjoy this much anymore because it's starting to feel like a job.
Yeah. And the thing is, and this is what people don't understand. Like, I put, you know, my heart into my videos, and that's why, like, if you look, it's like I cut out if there's B-roll on there, I cut out every breath. You never hear a breath. You never hear me go. You never hear that. If there's B-roll on it, the only time you're going to hear that is if you see my face, A-roll. And even then, sometimes I'm cutting it out. I go through and I'm like, okay, how can I make this as concise and to the point as much as possible? And if I say something, if I can back it up, then I'm going to give you the B-roll. I'll go out of my way to get the B-roll. I've even contacted you before, Kyle, and said, hey man, can I use some of your B-roll for this? Because you had something I needed. And I'm like, it would be so much easier if I can just grab your thing and put your name in the corner. And you were graciously like, yeah, man, go for it.
You can just do it without putting my name. I don't care.
But you know, I give credit where credit's due. But but like you were saying, Danny, it feels like a job, and so you work hard, you want to do a good job, and then when you get the negative comments, it really sucks. It really sucks because people don't understand. It's like, there is so much that goes in the videos, man, and people don't get it. People do not understand how many hours behind the scene, and that's why I got despite how anybody may feel about hardware unboxed, because I see up and down. I mean, obviously they're not hurting at all.
I like them.
I love them. I got massive respect. I got massive respect for both of them, but especially Steve, because when he does those 50 game benchmarks on one GPU or whatever
crazy,
it is,
bro.
I'm like, dude, I've only tested like 7 or 8 games, 6 or 7 games last night, and I was up all night because like the amount of issues you get going from 1440 to 4K, and some games are like I will not let you see 1440p. I'm like,
absolutely.
Dude, come on. It's like you have to actually set up the native resolution to them. Like, just stop.
Well, Assassin's Creed Mirage. So I changed. So part of the reason why I'm using that is because it's a 4K display and you can, downsample or whatever. So I set the native resolution to 1440p. I go into Assassin's Creed Mirage, and 1440p is not an option. You can do 1080p. There was something glitching with it where it thought the native resolution was 1080, even though it was clearly set to 1440 in the Windows. And I checked it, and I double checked it, and I restarted the system, and I went to the Nvidia control panel. I must have spent 30 minutes trying to get Assassin's Creed Mirage to recognize 1440p, and it didn't. So I said, well, I guess I'm not doing 1440p for this game. It's just going to be a 4K result. So now when I make my video on the Astral, I'm going to have to specifically say, okay, you're going to have 1440p on all the, or 4K on all these games, and then 1440p on most of these games. And, and even then, I already know there's going to be that commenter that's like, why didn't you give me 50p? I already see it coming, man.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you and I, we've gone back and forth with the whole YouTube comment section. So, and I mean, I used to at one point let it get to me, but now it's just like, you can't please everyone. You can't.
No, you can't. And I'm really on that line because I have my days where I'm like, dude, I don't care. Say what you want. Like the bald stuff doesn't bother me anymore. That happened. It was like, dude, I've been called Andrew Tate. I've been called Johnny Sins. I have been, and then I make a whole video. I make a whole video talking about a GPU, and the only comment from somebody is, "You're bald." I'm like, thank you. I didn't realize that. I appreciate that. But it doesn't.
Dude, you know why my 4090 video blew up?
Why?
Because I can't say the word privileged, right? I said privileged, right? So I said it like kind of wrong, and everyone was like, "Is this an inside joke?" Like, it took me a little while to say. I still can't say it fast. It's like, and I was like saying it. So I got like a couple of comments being like, more or less like politically being like, "Oh, you're just a left wing, blah blah blah," and I was like. I honestly, it is a privilege to be able to buy a card like this. You go to other countries, you can't get anything like this at all. So like, let's be without politically putting anything here, right? Yeah. And so so there was comments like that, and then there was like tons of people just been like, say it right. You're like, I don't know, just like that kind of stuff. But I was like, keep commenting about it. Come on,
Thanks for the
it makes a video grow.
I don't know, dude. It's like the sense of entitlement that some people have, or just the way they like to nitpick on. And I see the comments. I'm like, really? Like that whole segment from that whole video? Like that's what you took away? Like that's what you took the time out of your day to comment?
Yeah, you just had like a really good blow up video the other day. I went through some of the comments. I was just curious to see how people were like reacting to it, and mostly positive from what I saw, but like obviously sometimes those videos will just have, no matter what, you're just gonna end up having a lot of like people saying whatever, you know. It's like,
I had a I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just well, he was commenting on your video, so it makes more sense if you talk.
Oh no, no, I was just saying, like, you get the comments that are just totally not related to video. It's like, oh yeah, you look this skin color, so why do you sound white? I'm like, really?
Oh yeah, I saw your tweet about that.
That one. Or it's like, whatever. I get voice cracks every now and then that's one of the big things that also shows up as well.
Yeah, it's like, who cares? By the way, awesome on like the face reveal. I was like, oh, yeah, like, you know, like, it just,
I was wondering if you were ever gonna do that.
Honestly, it wasn't even planned or anything. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna try this, see how it works, and then I think it went well, right? It went really well. The reception on it was, you know, fairly positive. I mean, that topic as well was pretty important, but I think for that kind of topic, I was like, you know what, let me just try this, let me combine the two, and I think it worked out well.
Nice, I'm gonna be honest, low key, I was jealous of you for a long time because you didn't show your face, and I'm like, man, I screwed up. I should have never showed my face to the world. Like, because like not having to do A-roll, like just grabbing all the B-roll, putting it on the screen, and just sitting down and just actually being like, okay, so 9800X, just talking over the mic. Like, I feel like, well, that. I used to do that with Call of Duty. I used to have a Call of Duty channel anyway. But the point is, I used to do that. I used to do faceless commentary. I could pump out those videos twice the speed I can now.
So anyway, my opinion is pretty much vice versa. Because I was just like, people who do A-roll, I'm like, hey, they're just sitting in front of the camera, like they can just show their face and they're talking most of the time. I'm like, I don't show my face, so I got to get like some sort of relevant B-roll or pictures or whatever to show. And then I'm like, that was eating up quite a bit of my editing time. So I found that just having segments where I'm like just talking into the camera or whatever, that helps to fill up some of that time. And I mean, people are so cool with it.
Pros and cons to both, for sure, man. Definitely pros and cons to both, because I've had times where I have literally delayed filming because I had a scratch on my face or I broke out or something, and and I look at them like, videos are forever. I want to put my best foot forward, so I'm not going to get on there with this like gaping scratch or whatever it might have happened, right? Because we adopted a cat. Sweet as a baby, got a little bit older, became a nightmare. We're still working through that. But hey, buddy, what's up? Row! And I'm like, oh crap. Well, I'm not filming for 2 days or whatever.
Is it a boy or a girl cat?
It's a guy cat or a boy cat. Yeah.
Oh, you should be able to train it pretty easy.
Yeah. I mean, he's coming around. You know, water bottles help a lot. So but no, man. Yeah. Congrats on the face reveal. Glad to have you here. Definitely made I think Kyle and I more comfortable reaching out to you about doing this, because we're like, well, he doesn't really, we were talking about it a couple of months ago. We're like, well, he doesn't really show his face. Do you think he would be comfortable doing that? And then the schedules just weren't lining up. And then we came back around. I'm like, dude, let's do it. And so I reached out and I was like, let's do this.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, maybe next time I can convince Brian to come on.
Dude, that would be sick.
He's like a totally different realm, but like, I mean, like, I kind of do what he does too. So we're just like flipping PCs essentially. But well, you can send this to him and be like, hey, you should have been there. Yeah, dude, I actually will, because he's a cool shit. Like I think he brings an interesting perspective to the table. Like, even he had like kind of a positive spin on the 5080. There were some other like tech channels that do more like professional stuff that had a good kind of, they're not like being overly positive about it, but they're just being like, it's like the AI features and all these things that I can do, the faster RAM, you know, there's like some positives to it. So it sucks because today, like, as you guys probably know, you're always kind of like trying to help the gamer, and the gamer is just always pissed off no matter what. So it's like, it's really tough but like, they're right to be pissed off too. So you're like in this weird conundrum of like, it's like a catch-22, you know?
Yeah. I got a comment the other day, going back to comments for a second. It really stuck with me because I actually would have rather been called Andrew Tate or bald or something. This one really kind of hit deep. He was like, why would Asus send you a card? You have 26,000 subscribers. And I was like, ouch. You know, like instead of being like, hey, longtime viewers, super happy for you. It was you know, you've paid your dues, you've earned your stripes, congratulations. Instead, it was you only have 26,000 subscribers. Why would anybody send you a card? And
you've
I'm
had
like,
good growth
dang.
though. Like you've had fast growth, you know?
Yeah.
Well, what people don't understand, and actually, so full transparency here, and I'll leave this in the video. I asked Asus, I'm like, they started sending me stuff. And I'm like, why did you just, because I thought you were sending me one motherboard. I just got 4 motherboards. What's going on? Well, we love how honest you are with your community. That's literally feedback they gave me. And then also subscribers don't translate to viewers.
It's true.
And Danny and I, or even you, Kyle, we're all examples of that. How many times have you made a video punch above your weight class?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Danny just hit what, 27K. Congratulations on that. Your video on what, DLSS has over 200,000 subs. I'm sorry, 200,000 views, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those. Almost, yeah, or it's like 250, somewhere around there. And it was one of those videos where I just like woke up in the morning. I was like seeing comments about people making DLSS 4. So I was like, you know what? I want to try this out for myself. When I say DLSS 4, I mean the transformer upscaling model. So I was like, I want to try this out. And I think the idea popped in my head. I was like, you know what? Let me put a little bit of a twist on it where I'm like, I'm going to try this out on a 2080 on like an old 7-year-old card. I'm like, let's see if this really breathes some new life into it. And I was like showing, I'm like, and then I made another follow-up video to that. That one actually got caught. I got a lot of flack for apparently where I was like, you know, 1080p gaming, 1440p makes more sense because it's like, you know, if you use the upscaling model with the transformer, I'm like, you can now play at 1440p technically and get better performance than 1080p. Right. So I was like, why would you not want to do that? It's the best of both worlds. It's better visuals and you actually get a little bit better performance. So yeah, I mean, it was just one of those ideas where I woke up, was like, let me just try this. I'll make a video out of it, put it out, and you know, see people like it. And apparently got a lot of traction. But that goes to my point of you have 27,000 subscribers, but you have a video a recent video that's about to hit 300,000 views.
Yeah,
exactly. Subscribers don't equal viewers, and that's what people don't. And I would say the same thing to Linus or GN, like Linus with 15 million subs, whatever it is now, 16 million, whatever. It's like, it's easy to say I have a community of 16 million subs, but YouTube's not community driven. Like it's not a real community. It's all algorithm based. It is. All they care about is building a profile on you and making sure you stay on the platform. And so if that involves showing you an ErockOnTech video, they're going to do that. But if that doesn't involve showing an ErockOnTech video, despite the fact that you are subscribed to ErockOnTech, they're not going to show you that. I get subs all the time. Tell me, dude, I had no idea you published a video. I'm subscribed. I watch all your stuff. I had no idea. YouTube didn't notify me. It wasn't in my. So topic number 3 was, what do you want to see the most out of the PC industry? We talked a lot about, GPUs, CPUs, and YouTube and stuff. Like, what do you guys want to see the most in our space?
Go ahead, Dan.
Honestly, it's kind of a loaded question for sure. It's definitely something to think about. I mean, I don't really know, because we're seeing all these different directions that hardware is going and software. I guess that's where I'm mainly thinking about it. Is what are we gonna? We have all this hardware now, right? What can we see from the software side of things? And I mean, it goes back to the whole sort of AI conversation we were having. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how things develop in the future with the way hardware is going and where software is coming in and how AI is being incorporated into all of this. But I don't know. I mean, I look back at the old days and I'm just like, oh yeah, PC gaming and GPUs are cheap and there was such good valuable hardware, and now things are just up in the sky in terms of pricing. You're seeing all these you're seeing a bunch of examples of games coming out that are just unoptimized messes. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where things go in the future. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm not really clear on where we're really headed.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Kyle, what about you, man?
So I would say the biggest thing that I've been the most impressed with is, and this is kind of going to touch on the last topic, I think, if it's handhelds, right?
It was, and then we changed it, but you are welcome to talk about
handhelds. Well, just, I mean, I said this years ago. A lot of people have said this. Danny, you probably said it. Erock, you probably said it. Just the APU market. I mean, like, it's really impressive. I am not a PlayStation guy, but my wife bought me a PlayStation Pro for Christmas. I was like totally unexpecting it, and it looks really good. Like in that, like that's an APU that could one day exist in a handheld due through refinement over time. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that, like, I think in the future, just small form factor stuff. And I'm not even into like this SFF builds or anything like that. I mean, like, just like real small stuff that can perform crazy. There was a time where my PC was down and I used my Steam Deck for a week, and I even got DaVinci running on it, which was pretty crazy. Did not run good, but I did render a video, and I was like, hey, this is like something you can do. It didn't work good on Linux. I had to make a Windows installation on it, and like I did like a split. I did like a Windows installation on the SD card, and then Linux on I just left the stock Steam Deck.
Dude, you should have made a full video on that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I just like, I didn't even know how to present it because I was so confused doing it. Like, I'm not doing a good job at even covering how much work went into the actual time.
I can imagine. That sounds like that.
But I used it for, I want to say it was like at least a couple weeks, and I was pretty happy with it. You know, I had like, it was only a single screen because you can only really run one screen unless you get like a dock, and I think you can do multi, but just something like, just more APU stuff. I know not a lot of people are into it because of the desktop space. Like, my bread and butter is desktops, but I want to see the APUs go further. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would like to see. What about you, man?
What do I want to see most in our space? I want to see a couple of things. So the first thing is I want to see no idea why I did first with a pinky. The first thing is I want to see I want to see a return to excitement and positivity and genuine excited. Look, man, when I first got into PC space, it was all just like, dude, it's so cool you're building your first PC. Dude, it's so awesome. The new GPUs are coming. And, you know, people would actually, at least in my bubble, like we would get together, we would watch the GPU announcements. We would watch, you know, CPU announcements. We would talk about, we would plan, like when I bought this house that I'm in right now, real talk, this is what we did. So a few friends of mine, we all decided, okay, look, Eric's going to buy his new house. When he moves in, we're all going to go over there and build a gaming PCs, and just kind of like, I don't know the word, but, you know, just basically,
there's nostalgia to it.
Break in the house, make an event out of it. Let's break in the house with a good gaming event. And so obviously it takes time to buy a house. You don't just say, I'm gonna go buy a house today. It's not like going to Walmart or something, right? So it takes time to buy a house. So we knew it was coming. So we were planning these PC builds in parallel to that. So every day in the group chat, it was just like, hey, you guys see any good deals? Or, hey, what are you looking to, you know, what are you leaning towards? You want to do Intel? You want to do AMD? And it's just a lot of positive excitement around the idea. It had like, none of us gave a flying crap if the other dude was using AMD or Nvidia or AMD or Intel. We didn't care. All we cared about was that our bro was about to build a PC, and he was going to come over here. We were going to have some drinks. We were going to build. We were going to download Destiny and play and have a great time. That's the only thing we cared about. It had nothing to do with, well, you know, actually this company was caught, you know, scandal, screwing people over or whatever. And I'm just like, oh yeah. It's like, dude, I just want to be happy to play with the tech again, you know, and I understand it's like, it's so hard to do that as a creator, because the moment you show genuine excitement for anything, you're a shill, you were sponsored. And it's like, dude, honest to God, I will say this right here in front of everybody. Asus has never paid me a dime. Lean Lee's never paid me a dime. Danny, has MSI paid you a dime whenever they sent you the motherboards or anything?
No, not for obviously reviews, but we have done some sponsor spots, but that's
okay, gotcha.
It. Yeah.
But yeah, that was separate from the reviews.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just like, yeah, honestly, I turned down a lot. Actually, most of the things I do get offered for sponsorships have nothing to do with tech, and so I reject them. You know, I get stuff all the I like one like legit because I'm bald. True story. Had a turkey company, a turkey hair transplant company, contact me. They wanted this was legit, by the way, because Harris Heller over on Senpai Gaming just did this, and then he did a full live stream talking about the experience. This is legit. This wasn't like a scam. They contacted me and said, "Hey, we want to partner with you for our hair transplant company, and we'll get your hair back." And I'm like, I'm good, man. Like I'm secure. Yeah. I'm married. My wife is happy with it. That's all that matters. So I'm straight, you know, I'm good. But like that's the type of stuff I get, man. And I get robot vacuum cleaners in my inbox. I'm like,
that one's pretty
like,
cool.
That's
I have two
cool,
robot vacuums in my home. I'm like, they save you a lot of time, man.
Yeah, I've purchased over the course of me owning this house, I've purchased a total of 4 robot vacs, and they are worth it. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to make
Can we move on to our segue to our sponsor? Robot vacuums, guys.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
I got
brought to you by iRobot.
Look at all this fake. This was fake money that I have from earlier today. I bought like a roll of it, just in case the guy was like, I need to see the money first. So I was like, yeah. It's not real.
Dude, you really thought ahead on that video.
Yeah,
dude.
I really kind of planned it up, but yeah.
Shut up. No, you're fine. I mean, just the short version is like, we need to be critical. We need to be objective. I mean, after all, consumers are coming to us and wondering if they should buy a product. And I totally get that. And I'm not saying we need to shill for things. It's not what I'm saying. But I don't know if it's making sense what I'm saying. I want it to be okay to be excited to play with tech again. That's you know, like make fun again. I don't know, something like that.
I think like what you're referring to is the golden era. Which and it might just be like our age. Danny, I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm 34. Erock, you're 34, right?
I'm 35 now.
35, okay.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
I just entered the 30 club a few months back.
Nice. All right, so you're in a similar realm.
Lucky.
Yeah. What was gonna say? Oh yeah, so like I think years ago, especially like during the launch of the PlayStation 4, where hardware was like really compared. Like you had the 70. Let's see, Danny, you know this. R9 390, 7950,
in the
HD
PS3.
The PS4 was considered to be
PS4.
HD,
so it was 7870 in the PS4.
7870.
And then Xbox One was like 7770. I actually had that GPU, so I knew about that one.
I have like a couple of them sitting back here. It was like one on the wall too over there. They're just old. I don't even know where they came from.
I just have the actual Xbox One, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. So I think during that time you got to see a pretty jump in, like, from the PS3 to PS4, you got to see a pretty good jump visually, and people instantly that normally wouldn't care were all of a sudden interested in PCs around that time. More so than ever. It became more easy, like during the 4770, 4790K era. There was like a lot of people
there was
building
a big boom
PCs.
Then.
Yeah. And so the 9 series, you had the 970 was like the crazy good value, even though it had like 3.5 gigs of RAM. And I feel like that era kind of continued to around 2018.
And
like that's where like everything was like amazing. Like everyone was just like kind of positive. You
were looking forward to the new advancements in tech. Like that period between so I don't know what how far you got back you guys go with PCs, but I built my first PC in 2008. It was Core 2 Quad Q6600 with an 8800 GT. But I mean, I was pretty young back then. I had help from one of my older cousins, so I wasn't really into the hardware side of things as I am now. I was more so focused on actual just PC gaming, and then I was still gaming a lot more on my 360 because that was the platform that a lot of my high school buddies were still gaming on, and a lot of the exclusives that are on the Xbox, I was just more fond of Halo and Gears of War, stuff like that. And then it wasn't until the reveal of the Xbox One and PS4 where I was looking at the hardware specs, and I was just like, man, I don't think this is a big leap. So it started to sort of rejuvenate my interest again in PC gaming. So my old PC at that point was just falling off. It was kind of on its last leg. So I built another one with an FX 6300 and an R9 270X. I didn't have a lot of money back then, but I was and that was the other thing too. You could build a decent system even if you didn't have a lot of money on hand. I think that was one of the big things, because the entry point to PC gaming was big, and that was around that time where we got 4th gen Haswell CPUs, the 9 series with Maxwell, Nvidia brought a big leap, AMD had the 300 series. You know, they were going toe to toe. The whole, you know, the whole YouTube space was flooded with 970 versus 390. It was a heated battle, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, the 10 series came out. You know, that was hugely successful for Nvidia.
That was that was so good. The 10 series. It was like such an amazing
crazy.
time.
It was super exciting. Polaris with the RX 480. You know, delivering premium VR gaming. That's how Raja Koduri framed it at that time.
Do you remember Raja Koduri dropping the or was it Linus? Oh, it was Linus, right?
It was Linus, I think.
Yeah, it was Linus. Yeah. They handed it over. That was so fun.
Yeah.
Man. I was like, those were good days though. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you had Ryzen come out, and then you had like, oh my God, you know, this is a $400 CPU that is going toe to toe against $1,000 CPUs. Like this is genuinely exciting. You had the 1080 Ti come out. And then 2018 happened with the 20 series. AMD sort of like dropped off from the high end and from commuting directly with Nvidia. And then I think everything just kind of spiraled down from there. CPUs are still good, but now it's just again one-sided. So it goes back to what Erock said. Yeah, excitement and just positivity. And it's hard to make content ignoring that sort of aspect of the whole space, right? People are like, oh, you know, there's negative connotations from your videos these days. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound fake and be like, oh yeah, you know, 5070 or 5080 is like amazing. You should totally go out and buy it, because I'm like, that's not genuine. Like, I'm looking at this from a perspective where I was looking at hardware back then, and you know, being in the space for quite a while, and it's tough.
I think the reach is different. Sorry, Erock.
No, go ahead.
I don't want to drag you guys too much longer, but I think the reach, we're in like the information age, right? So back 5-6 years ago, less and less people were reaching, and like, not to get political, but like a lot of this does kind of wrap up into money, how much people are making, how much like the economy, all that stuff. So if you look at like the long scale of things, people are getting smarter, and also like when you get smarter, you get sadder, and you're like more shaming the things you can't have because of society pressures putting you down, right? So it's like more and more people want to see. It's like my channel, when I first started Erock, we talked about this. Like I was doing like the 40 series bashing. That's like how I started my channel. It seems so stupid today, but it's like 8 gigabytes of RAM isn't enough. Like I started a lot of those videos like way back, and I would just put them out, just like ranting about it, and I would get like 10,000 views, and I have like 500, 600 subs. I'm like 10,000. Like this goes back to the sub to view ratio, right? And it's like people wanted to hear the negativity aspect because they can't go and buy the GPU, so it's like they're pissed off too, because they're like, this thing is overpriced, it's garbage anyways. Let me hear the negative aspects. And I think that kind of like, I don't know, it translates in many ways, but without rambling on too far.
No, I definitely get it. And I mean, look, I'm not squeaky clean over here myself. Okay. Like I've made plenty of videos freaking calling out and complaining about several things, and I have capitalized on those views. But the thing was, like, I didn't just make the videos to get the views. Like I actually felt the way that I said, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And
I mean that too, genuinely.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like, and I mean, with me, like in my case, like prime examples of 40 series, going back to that, I can prove I felt that way because I had called out. I think I got this video on my channel called "The 40 Series is All Smoke and Mirrors," and I was really proud of the thumbnail because there's smoke and there's like a magician. And anyway, at the time, I was still learning how to make thumbnails. I was really happy about that. And then the video performed well because I had like 900 subs or something like that, and it got like 20-something thousand views, which was huge at the time. So oh my goodness, right? But then the 4090 came out and blew everybody away. Way better. Like, yeah, sure. Everybody hated the price, but outside the price, everything else about that card was just awesome, right?
Yeah.
So I made a follow-up video and I said 4090 is better than I expected. And I called myself out and said, I said this and this. And there's another video where I said I'm skipping the 40 series. Never freaking expected that video to get over 100,000 views. So then, and I wasn't going to get it because I really couldn't afford it. And I did honestly think it was smoke and mirrors. I honestly believed all that. Then they came out better than I expected. Then somebody in my community gave me a 4080 for a while and said, have at it. You know, basically I want it back, but there's no time limit. Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier.
Yeah,
you use it. When it comes time to hand it back, you're like, I missed that thing. I want one. So then I went out and got one. And it was like, oh, you're a shill or whatever. So then I ended up making another video calling myself out. I know. I said blah, blah. That's how the video starts. The video literally starts with me saying, I know. It's back when I still had little bit of hair I was hanging on for dear life on that one. So, but you know, the thing, like, that's the thing though, man, like I'm transparent. And so like, when I tell you things like, okay, that video is not sponsored, it's not sponsored, or this company's never given me a dime, this company's never given me a dime. I am freaking honest with you. You might not like the honesty, but it is the honest to God truth, because it's so much easier to be genuine than it is to try to be fake. Because if you're trying to be fake, well, okay, what did I say the other day about this? I want to make sure my stories line up here. Well, no, I'm just being true to who I am, and so I don't have to worry about anyway. But
there are definitely some people in the tech space that are not like
not genuine. Yeah, for sure. Well, the other challenge is, you know, now anybody and their mom can be a content creator, right? I mean, you have a camera in your pocket, you can make content on, upload right away, and they technically the algorithm picks it up. You can succeed, and
nothing wrong with it, but it's I get what you mean too, but it's kind of like, you know, someone can have a say that might be really incorrect and they can get a lot of views on it, and then like everyone's like, wait, this happened, and then you're like, no, that's not true, you know. It's tough.
It's this person said X, therefore it's true. This person's the first person to ever say this, so it has to be true.
Like the AIO debacle from Gamers Nexus for years, like, oh my god, it still goes on sometimes. You'll see like people being like
the mounting. Yeah, I got that comment too. That was actually like one of the comments I got on the face reveal video, and someone's like, "Oh, your AIO is mounted wrong." I'm like, it's not mounted wrong.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was so frustrating. Like, I was mad at GN for making that video actually, because like I build a lot of these like little PCs, and during that time frame, every PC that had the AIO mounted like this, like where like here's the pump and then here's the radiator.
Exactly.
And the hoses are going up. Everyone was like, dude, you're an idiot. You can't build computers. And I'm like, so wait, you want me to put the tubes on the hot backplate and burn them? So the orientation, just like, it was mind blowing, man. I don't know.
Well, Jay did a follow-up video to that, and he was explaining it in greater detail. And I think Jay was actually really ahead on this one, where he said the biggest problem is that the final conclusion to that video, which is over a 30-minute video, is that people don't watch that far into the content. And that's the biggest issue on YouTube, especially in the tech space, is that a lot of creators will, you know how to do it at this point. You set the video up, aka intro, and then you do all the middle stuff, and then you round it out at the end, right? And during that middle section, you're going to have pros and you're going to have cons. And the problem is sometimes people only listen to the pros, and then, oh, you're a shill. I'm like, did you not make it to the con section, or did you not make it to the final analysis or whatever? And I think that was one of the problems there with the GN video on that, was like, that was like a 35-minute video, man. And that, you know, and on an AIO, I love tech, bro, but I like the only way I made it through, I put it on like 2x speed, and I was hyper focused.
The other problem with that too is like, okay, by the time you're actually having an issue with it, how old is the thing? Like, if it's 6 or 7 years old, you're probably already going to be replacing it anyways.
Very true. Very true.
Not always, but like I have one right here that's like literally 10 years old. I would never give it away or even put it in a system, but it does work.
What do you want people to get most out of your content and channel as a whole? What are some upcoming projects you're working on?
Well, to be honest, a lot of these videos and stuff I put out, I make them to fulfill some of my own curiosity, like all these benchmark tests and stuff and configurations I do. It's more so to fulfill some of my own curiosity. And one of the reasons why I started doing these tech videos is because it was kind of like my own sort of public diary in a way, like, because I don't have many friends in my real life social circle where I can talk, or they're interested in PC gaming or PC hardware. So I'm making these videos. So I'm like, you know what, I'll make these videos and put them out so that, you know, others can chime in and we can have a bit of a discussion on them. But yeah, just, you know, awesome. Learning something, taking some key information away. Hopefully it helps them out in making some informed buying decisions. So that's really what I want people to take away from the videos, right? And I want them to be encouraged and go out and test stuff for themselves. That's one of my sort of de facto responses nowadays to a lot of people in my comment section. I'm like, cool, go out, you know, buy the thing. Maybe I know entry point to hardware these days is tough, but you just have to test it out for yourself. Like, you know, if you want to challenge the opinion or the work or whatever, you just have to test it out for yourself. But yeah, I mean, that's really the gist of it. And then in terms of like videos I'm working on, I have a few in the pipeline that I'm working on. I recently got a Elgato 4KX, and I mean, one of the reasons why I was prompted on doing that is because when I was doing the 9800X 3D 40 game benchmark stuff, I was showing some live gameplay and was just like, yeah, like Nvidia share is hurting some of these results, like clearly, like, and that's why I was like showing screenshots. I'm like, this is what it was afterwards. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I just gotta finally go ahead and get like a dedicated capture card. So I'm gonna be not really doing a review on that, but I'm gonna have like my own spin on it. So there's that. Exploring some of the Windows 10 stuff because like that's really piqued my curiosity. So there's a few benchmark videos that I have in the pipeline that I think some people will appreciate and hopefully learn something from.
Okay, awesome. All right, Techwando, you.
Yeah, Techwando. That's how you find me. Except for when you search my name, bad on my part. You search my name and it's just all karate. But
true story.
Yeah.
I did it the other day.
Yeah, it does happen. Like if you spell it slightly wrong, but I don't have like too many things coming up. I have a lot of like, it's so random, man. Like I have like Mel, my friend, is like, hey, I'm gonna bring you 30 70s to repaste. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make content out of that. But so my thing is like
how to repaste a 3070. That's your content.
Yeah, right. My thing is, or like maybe you could make like, okay, how much more performance can you get out of it over time or something? I don't know, but I have a lot of random stuff like that. I had brought up to you, Erock, that I'm my wife's best friend growing up, who is now my best friend too. He's a digital creator. He's really awesome, and he's looking to do a 99 50X 3D and 25090 system. And like he's ready to pull the trigger. So I'm trying to help him right now with like finding these parts. I obviously like where it's going to be impossible, but he might be able to because he is like super linked up with people in the industry, and like he's running SLI, even though it's not SLI, but there's no bridge anymore, but like he's going to be using it for rendering. So I think that's like kind of a cool video that will be odd for my channel because it's like, look at this crazy hardware. I don't know. So that's pretty much it. Other than that, everything else is just random.
Hey, well, that'd be a good video. I'm looking forward to it. That's like, I know your channel is, smaller, but it's gonna grow. And the thing that I love about your channel is it's the, for lack of a better word, it's the weird stuff in tech, and I love it.
It's super unique, man.
I love it's very unique, man. It's completely different because Danny and I, there's not a huge difference between the two of us. I mean, the way we approach the content or edit or whatever, or the topics we cover at the time, all that's going to be different, of course. But like, I mean, you are radically different, and that is great. That is a good thing. I applaud it. Nothing but good stuff. Yeah. And so, and actually with your name, so I found you because you were watching my content, leaving a comment, and I was reading all the comments, and your name stood out to me. And then I clicked on your profile and I'm like, oh, he actually uploads. And then I started watching your stuff and I was like, oh, subscribe, contact, hey, what's up? And just So anyway, so engagement does work, for the people out there, like
absolutely.
So for me, let's see, what do I want people to get most out of my content? Is it bad if I say I don't know anymore? No. I mean, so when
all these different directions we're going in.
Yeah. So when I started this channel, I was primarily a console gamer for the majority of my life. Grew up PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, all the things. Well, also one day I'm going to do like a personal video. I might do it when I hit 100K. If I ever hit 100K, might make it a Patreon only. But the short version is I grew up in a very impoverished home. I grew up poor, grew up in a very broken home. I've been homeless. I've slept in the car, all those different things. And, a gaming PC was not something I was ever going to have growing up, ever. Like that just was not a thing. Like me and my best friends had one Xbox to share between the three of us. And like my godfather and their mother like went 50-50 on it. True story. So that was my gaming experience. Or I would go to a friend's house who had a little bit better of a childhood and just, hey, can I spend the night and play video games? So that was my gaming history. And so I was like super hardcore console gamer. Whenever I got out on my own, graduated college, got a job and could buy stuff, it was like all, 360 for me. Loved it. Loved the 360 days. I got the video why I missed the 360 days and stuff. But Xbox One and that whole generation came around, and I was already starting to hear rumblings about, hey, PC this and that. And I have a bachelor's degree in computer information systems, so I've always worked around PCs. I've always built PCs, but it's always been from a workstation office standpoint. It's never been like this is a dedicated video game PC or gaming PC, And then I used to kind of justify like, well, I like going home, I like going to work, having my PC to work and then come home, hit the couch, relax, and play games. On a console, just kind of separate the two. But it eventually just got to a point it didn't make any sense anymore, you know, especially being in the Xbox ecosystem. I knew I couldn't stay there. I was either going to go PlayStation or go PC. And I figured, I was like, well, I always hear how much better PC is, so let me go over there. And then the rest was history, man. I was excited to switch. I was super passionate about it. I went, you know, I mean, I already had a background in PCs because I've worked in the tech space since I, you know, was in college for it and everything. But so there wasn't like a huge learning gap or anything. It just was like, okay, now we're going to mostly focus it on the gaming side of it. Yep. And so a lot of my earlier content was like why PC is better than console, or why I switched to console from PC. You know, that was and like getting people into that ecosystem was something I was super passionate about early on, was just trying to convince people, get off a console, get the PC, get off. But then I learned, okay, well, PC prices seem to be getting worse, not better. Yep. The gen on gen uplift is not there. And even PC gamers don't really understand their systems. I did a video, it's not live anymore on my channel, but I did a mod for Hogwarts Legacy, and it was like, you know, how to get this unlocked content on whatever it was with PlayStation. The amount of, and this is back when I had a public Discord. I don't have it anymore. It's just a Patreon only now for this reason and many others. But people would just join in the Discord. I had over 1,000 people join the Discord off that one video. They all wanted this mod file. And the amount of people who had no idea how, like, the questions I got were this: hey, I got Hogwarts Legacy and it's on Steam. Where's it located? I'm like, you don't know where a video game is located on your PC? You don't know how to access the install files on your PC? That one video taught me so much about the people who game on PC. It's like, you might play your video games there, but it does not mean you understand it, right?
Yeah.
And so then I started shifting into, you know, just more of the hardware stuff, you know, and anyway, so I don't know, but when people come and watch my content, you know, I try to get to the point as fast as possible. I try to make it efficient. I try to make it polished, because not all the tech creators do that. And I'm not just talking about the bigger guys. You know, there's guys bigger than me, but not like GN big, right? But, you know, their content is filled with a bunch of, you know, dead air and ums and uhs. And there's a time and place for that. But it's also like, I understand your time is valuable. So I want to get it to you as fast as possible. But also being in the tech space, there's a lot of technical specifics to it. So sometimes that means I have to explain this for a minute. And now a 5-minute video turns into a 15-minute video. And I cannot tell you how many times I've stood in front of this camera. I said, all right, we're just going to do a quick 5-minute video. And I start talking. I'm like, well, actually this. Well, actually that. Oh, crap. I forgot to mention that. Oh, crap. I forgot. Next thing you know, video's 15 minutes long. And it took me, you know, 2 days to edit and film. And I was like, that was supposed to be a quick one. So anyway.
Video. Yeah, I thought it was like, 4-minute, 5-minute quick video, put it out there. I was like, oh, shoot, it's like almost 11 minutes.
Yeah. It's that's how it works, man. The unboxing video was supposed to be just unboxing and whatever, and then I got to talking about it. Like, I felt so weird having a 3.5-minute unboxing video on the channel. I was like, this is so weird. So I started talking about it, and with the 5080 Astral, and I was like, well, it's not my review because I haven't reviewed it at that point in time. Hand to God, I didn't connect it to anything. I didn't have like the RGB that was like the last thing that went in the video. Like, I had just connected it for the first time and recorded it, shot it in the video, and uploaded it.
Yep.
The audio that I put over it was actually me 2 or 3 days later. Hey, and the RGB here is actually really cool. And then I uploaded it, and that was it. It was, you know, the way it's edited, you think it's all in one fell swoop or whatever, but it's not. It was like 3 days apart. Yeah. So anyway, that was that. But anyway, I don't know. A lot of lessons learned from that video, and that's why I keep talking about it. But no, things I'm working on. So I'm working on the ROG Astral 5080 video. I will show you guys this because I know nobody's gonna make it this far in the video.
Ooh,
I didn't show you guys this one, did I? Did I show y'all guys that?
The tough 5090?
No.
Nope. I didn't show y'all that.
Is that a tough 5090?
That's a tough gaming 5090. Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that came in a couple of days ago, and after all the heat off my last video, I'm like, I'm not telling nobody nothing.
Hold on. Is it? Can I ask that? Like, that's yours?
Maybe. Yeah. It's
all right. Nice.
No, I'll actually tell you this. So all your Euro creators, Australian creators, they actually share review samples. North America typically don't. But early on with the Astral, it was a shared sample, and it was like, hey, we're going to need you to send this back. And I said, okay. And then they came back and said, you may get to keep it. We'll let you know. So now it's like, okay. But the main thing I wanted was a 5090 because the only thing that's an upgrade for me is the 5090.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
I just want to say that the tough, like I would love that card personally because most likely there's going to be water blocks for it, and like the FE looks like, as much as I want the FE like for the 5080 for the MSRP, if I was to go for a higher end card, the tough is like pretty good value, especially if you're doing like custom water cooling, because it's like they're gonna have blocks for it. It's like a FE design probably to some degree. Which yeah, sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good. Actually, on the Best Buy website, this card right now at the time of this filming is the Nvidia Founders Edition MSRP.
Nice.
1999. It was a special launch pricing is what they called it, with no definitive timeline of when that would change. Obviously it's gonna change, but
yeah, they're seeing the prices now and they're like,
yeah, but right now at the time of this filming, if you go to the Best, at least here in the States, if you go to Best Buy, and just how you can pull up the 5090 FE, you can pull this card up right next to it. They're the same price.
Nice.
So if Best Buy gets any in stock, that's the other that's the other question, right? I mean, it can cost $5, but if you can't buy it,
there we go.
Anyway, but yeah, I didn't feel comfortable posting or sharing that one too much because I'm just like, dude, I haven't even finished this review yet, and this is gonna take me a while. But you guys are cool. I like you guys, so I'll show it. And by the time this goes live, I'll be knee deep in the testing on this, and editing will probably be half done on my channel. So
oh yeah, man.
So anyway, but that's it, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the time. Do you have any other comments, questions, or anything you want to get out there before we get out of here?
Not much.
No, I'm pretty good for now, but yeah, honestly, like I was glad to be on board with you guys and just shoot the shit and just talk about PC gaming and hardware and tech and all of that.
Yeah, I'm the small creator here, so thank you for having me on.
No worries, no worries, man, at all, dude. It's I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I still tell people all the time, I view myself as a cockroach. Like, I know I'm not, but I am. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like I still put out a video and cross my fingers it gets 1,000 views. You know?
Me too.
When 1,000 views coming, okay, we got it. Okay, when's 2,000 coming?
That algorithm can be brutal, man. Like you'll work on a video like where you'll spend maybe weeks benchmarking something or editing and all that, and you're like, yeah, I'm hoping this one does well. I put so much work into it. It's like, oh crap, it's bombed. It's like rating 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, and it's like, and then you put out a video where like you maybe spent like, I don't know, a couple hours on. It's like #1, it's getting all these views. I was like, really, man?
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, same. I think we've all have had that where you put out content and it does way better than you expected it to, and then the content you expect to do well just falls flat. That's I hate the algorithm. I just want to say that. I kind of wish it really was like a, I don't know. I'm torn on this, right? Because you can't grow if you don't have the algorithm pushing your content to people who aren't subscribed. But then it's so freaking annoying when you have 27,000 subs or whatever, and 90% of them don't even know you uploaded a video.
It'd be cool if they made like a top bar that was just subs only. So like when you come in, it's not just like Netflix, boom. It's like, here's the new stuff that you might like, and then here's like your subs, because like to get your subs stuff, it's like over in the corner, or it's like a notification on your phone, that pops up that's like your channel that you watch. Like you guys, for the most part, actually always show up on like notifications like right here on my phone, and I'll watch it, and it's like almost every time. Erock, yours is like right away. Danny, like a lot of times yours pops up. It's random. Like, and the thing is, you start subbing to more people, you start subbing to more stuff, and all of a sudden your channel, it's like what do they recommend you? It's like very hard, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. People who have like 50,000 subscriptions are not seeing videos. That's why a lot of channels die. It's like they're old subs, they're not new subs. Even Jay has that problem. It's like he gets 100,000 views, but he has 4 million people on the channel. Like
I've seen that with larger creators who may have like even 1 million subs, and I'm like, compared to the subs they have, they're not getting that relative view count. I was like, it's interesting. And I've seen channels that are much smaller and they'll get hundreds of thousands of views, or in like 200K, 300K. I was just like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to say this one last thing, since you guys were touching on like DLSS and stuff, and we've talked about this. You know what I'm going to say? Vex and Daniel Owen. They literally are like, they just like get numbers because I think they target a very specific group of people who are just interested on like getting the exact number of performance out of how to get stuff the cheapest almost, without saying it rudely. It's like, okay, we're always talking about DLSS, we're always talking about like upscaling and features and stuff like that, and everyone wants to get the most out of that content. And I said it to you, Erock. It was like, maybe if we just talk about DLSS all the time, we'll
well, Danny's a prime example of that. He just he just
like one of my videos is just literally that when I'm like, let me just try out DLSS, and I was like, it blew up.
That's what it is. It really is. And like I actually, like, I'm not trying to sound like cocky or anything, but like I don't like doing that content, so I just don't do it. I don't feel like I'm good at it, but I can see in the market, like if I just did do that, if I just did talk about it, I probably get the views, because it seems like it's a thing that's there. It's just, and there's not a ton of people always covering it, but it is like the same people, like Daniel Owen, man. I mean, like I like him. But like that's what he covers. He's just covers benchmarks and DLSS and like
that dude's a machine. The way his frequency of uploading, I was like,
I know.
He just
was a math teacher too.
He just gets it out. He's a monster. He just gets it out. I could admittedly, I've spoken to people about my channel, and they're like, if you just weren't so picky about your quality, you could upload a lot more, and then you would grow faster, because it's quantity over quality. And I'm like, yeah, no, but I'm in the editing bay, and it's always the same mindset. Well, I'm already here, let me just do this. Well, I'm already here, let me just do this. Well, I'm already here. Next thing you know, I've done said that 3, 4, 5 times. And now what could have been like a 60-minute editing session has turned into a 3-hour editing session, So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Cross that bridge when we get there. All right, man.
So now
appreciate you guys.
No problem.
Appreciate you guys too. Danny, was nice to meet you.
Likewise, man.
This is always the hard part, because you're like,